Hello and welcome to another episode. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander. This is match 3 of my new deck Battle Royale. We've got Arabella, Elena and Azor, Captain America, and Tiny Bones. It's been interesting seeing how the decks have competed against each other. Tiny Bones is the only one that was untested before this matchup. It does okay. I think it's probably going to need some sort of tweaking to find a real footing. However, I do need to get better at actually playing the cards that are exiled from the discard. That was definitely something that's on me more than the deck itself. The other 3 decks have done decent depending on the matchup, but they all kind of do their thing. So that's good. That's a good start. We've already gone through the first 3 turns, getting rid of a bunch of, playing a bunch of lands and passing. Some things have come out. I will get to them as we go to each of those respective decks. Let's go ahead and start turn 4 with Elenda and Azor. They got to go first. We played some lands. We played the enchantment Dollmaker's Shop. Whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, make a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. The other aspect of the room is still locked because we don't have enough mana for it, and the other half is honestly why it's in the deck. But hopefully we'll get to that point and unlock it. So we untap, upkeep, draw for turn. I will play Sky Cloud Expanse. I'll put it on top of the Tyrite Sanctum because that taps are colorless. So pay 1 and tap Scout Cly Expanse to get white and blue. So now these two make white and blue. That is 4 mana. We will go ahead and tap all 4, one of it being black, for Mirkwood Bats. A 2/3 flyer, whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. That's all we can do right now, though, so we're going to pass turn. Untap over here with Captain America. We were able on turn 3 to play a Chromatic Lantern and then tap that into Captain America's Aid, which is just Sigarda's Aid. You may cast an aura in enchantment spells as though they had flash. Whenever an equipment you control enters, you may attach it to target creature you control. Draw for turn. I'm going to play a mountain, and then red, white, and blue, obviously, to play Captain America. A 4/4 that has pay 3, unattached equipment attached to him. He deals damage equal to its mana value to any target, divided among 1, 2, or 3 targets that you choose. And then on the beginning of combat, he has Catch, where he gets an auto-equip or an auto-attached to any equipment he has. I only have 2 mana out. Unfortunately, that is not enough to play an equipment, but it is enough to play Kedis, Emberclaw Familiar, a 1/1 that says when a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. As we've seen, Captain America can get really big in terms of damage because of all the equipment attached to him, so having a way to replicate that damage across all the opponents is really good. It won't be commander damage specifically, but it'll still be big hits. Nothing else we can do because no one has haste. We will pass. Over to the Tiny Boneser. Tiny Bones on turn 2. A 1/3 that says whenever an opponent discards a card, exile it with a stash counter on it. Then during your turn, you may play cards that you don't own with stash counters on them, and you can use mana as though it were mana of any color to do so. You can also pay 4 and tap it to each opponent discard a card, but you can only do that as a sorcery. We were also able, on turn 3, we were able to play Elderflying Disciple. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. So they each discarded a card. We have them under here with our stash counters on them. We will then draw a card for turn, play a swamp. I'm going to tap 3 and play Gruesome Realization. Choosing 1, I'm going to choose you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. So 1, 2, but I get to draw 2 cards. We now have 7 cards in hand, so I don't have to discard down. There's no real open good attacks, and Tiny Bones isn't designed to really attack anyway. We're going to go ahead and pass. Over to Arabella. We're going to untap. We were able to get Arabella out on turn 2. She is a 1/3 that says whenever she attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. Unfortunately, on turn 3, we had a tap land, so we weren't able to actually play anything else. So we're going to draw for turn. Could use some extra lands or some mana rocks right now. So we're going to go ahead and tap 3 to play Whisper Silk Cloak. The equipped creature can't be blocked and has Shroud. We don't have the 2 mana necessary to equip it, so I'm not going to go swinging Arabella. She's only a 1/3, so she won't get through. And theoretically, depending on where I swung, she could get destroyed. But we're trying to set things up next turn. Unfortunately, it's slow going with Arabella right now. Even if I drew a land next turn, I would only be able to equip the cloak onto her and not be able to play anything else. So it's gonna take some turns to build Arabella up to be a threat. As we've seen, sometimes not doing anything early game is a good way to get yourself ready for the win at the end. We'll see. We're going to pass turn over to turn 5. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. I will play a swamp. Still not enough to play our commander. Not even enough to activate the rest of the room. And all we have in our hand are 2 lands and 2 draw spells, and we want to keep the draw spells for when we have Elenda and Azor out. Also, no point in swinging our one creature. Even though it's flying, it can get in anywhere, but then we would be wide open. So we're going to have to pass. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Now things might get a little dicey for everybody else. We're going to tap 1, 2, 3 and play Nettle Cyst. So, living weapon, when a equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. Now, when a living weapon comes in, you make a 0/0 germ token that gets the equipment auto-attached to it. However, Sigarda's Aid says that when an equipment you control enters the battlefield, you may attach it to the target creature. So I will immediately equip it to Captain America. The germ will become a 0/0 germ and die. Die, germs, we don't want to get sick. So that means 1, 2, 3. Captain America is now a 7/7. However, no other specific abilities. You can't actually get in anywhere. Now, of course, we could swing to try and force people's hands. You swing at Arabella, they're not going to block with the doll, because that's the whole crux of the deck. Same with Tiny Bones. They would probably use the Disciple because it served its purpose. It entered and made everybody discard, so that's an easy thing to get rid of. The Mirkwood Bats, that's also kind of key to... Not key, but that's very good for that deck once it gets going. They probably wouldn't want to sacrifice it early on. However, 7 commander damage, that's only 3 hits, so no one's going to really want that full damage. Well, I don't like discarding. Nobody does. So we'll see if poor little Tiny Bones makes it long-term as a deck for me, because that is something, it's almost as bad as taking other people's stuff or land destruction in terms of what people don't like. But we're going to swing Captain America at you. You're just going to block with the Disciple, no big deal. Nothing gets through. And it didn't do combat damage, so Kedis' ability is not going to trigger. We will then pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw, play a land for turn. This could be an interesting... I've never gotten to play this before. This is the first deck I've put it in. We're going to tap 5 for Maha, the Feathers Knight. A flying trample 6/5 with ward, discard a card, perfect for this deck. Creatures your opponents control have base toughness 1. So that means Captain America is now a 4/1. The Mirkwood Bats would be a 2/1, and Arabella is now a 1/1. So nothing dies, because they still have power, or they still have toughness 1, and it doesn't lower powers, but it does make it a lot easier for someone to take out certain creatures. So now Arabella is not great for blocking small creatures anymore, and even Captain America could be more easily dealt with. I'm not going to bother swinging, so we're going to pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Still not a land, which is not great. But I will tap 2, and like we said, attach the cloak, so now she can't be blocked and has Shroud. However, there's no point in swinging because it would just to trigger once, it would just do 1 damage. And we kind of need some blocking up. Although now that she's a 1/1, I'm not really going to want to block anything with her. So we're going to go ahead and pass turn to turn 6. Untap, upkeep, draw. Nice. We would play Temple of the False Gods, which is now online. White and blue, black, and then 1, 2, 3 to cast our commander, Elenda and Azor. A flying ward 2, 6/6. When she attacks, you may play white, blue, black, and X, and if you do, you draw X cards. At the beginning of each end step, you may pay 4 life. If you do, you make a number of 1/1 vampire knight tokens with lifelink equal to the amount of cards you drew that turn. So I think what we will do now, though, well, see, we've got Maha as a flying 6/5, so we don't want to swing in, and now our Mirkwood Bats is just a 2/1. So unfortunately, the one person we really want to swing into, we quite can't, but we're going to swing in on Cap, because that can get gross. So it's 2 in the air, they take 2. However, whenever 1 or more non-toy creatures you control attacks, you make a 1/1 white toy. And Mirkwood Bat says that whenever you make or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. There we go. Decent start. We're going to go ahead and pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. We're going to go ahead and tap 4 and play Mjolnir, Stormhammer. It's endgame all over again. Cap gets to wield Mjolnir. Whenever it enters the battlefield, attach it to target legendary creature you control. And it says, whenever a quick creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls, put a stun counter on it, then Mjolnir deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of tapped creatures that opponent controls. So right now, it's getting 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is an 8/5 because of the lowering of the off of Maha. So 8 damage, pretty solid. Now what we could do is we could swing over at Arabella, tap her down, and get in, which would allow Kedis' trigger to go as well, which means everybody would take 8 damage, and they would take a damage for their tapped creature. And Arabella would be stunned, so they wouldn't even be able to do their attack trigger on the next turn, which isn't a horrible idea. However, we kind of want to get rid of Tiny Bones is the one that's lowering our abilities. And to the other, and another point is they're gearing up. They're doing quite well now. So swinging that way, the problem is that now Cap is a toughness of 5. So this flyer and this flyer can both kill him, regardless of how powerful he is. So until we can get another buff onto him, it doesn't seem like a great idea of swinging over there. Even if we tap down an Azor, they'll block with the toy, whatever. They can just make another one. We'll be fighting a losing battle, just trying to swing into chump blockers. I think we got to go for maximum damage. We're going to swing at Arabella. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you tap it down, give it a stun counter so it does not untap on its next upkeep, or next untap stage, and you will take 8 commander. But Kedis will then trigger, and it'll deal that much damage to each opponent, so everybody takes another 8. Pretty solid. I like it. Nothing else we can do, however, we're going to pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw over here. We're going to play another swamp. Alright, Tiny Bones needs to start smacking some people. Well, not really, but actually, kind of can. We're going to tap 4, first of all, and play Davriel's Shadow Fugue. Target player discards 2 cards and then loses 2 life. I'm going to say Captain America has to lose 2 life and discard 2 cards. We're going to get rid of these 2 draw spells. Not the best idea, but we'll see. Then I'm going to tap 2 and Epic Downfall your commander. It says exile target creature with converted mana cost 3 or greater. Now that costs 2 more to cast. They might have enough mana, but even so, they'll have to use all of it to recast. And what that means is they are, well, actually, everybody is open in the air. Who has the most life? Captain America. So we're swinging a 6/5 at Cap. There you go. Get down to our level, Star-Spangled Avenger. And then we will pass turn. Hang on. Almost forgot that these 2 discarded cards actually go into the pool. Now we pass. Untap. The stun counter goes away, but she still doesn't untap fully. Wow, still not a land. Not too great. But I will tap 3 and play Anim Palka, the 1000th Moon. A 1/2. Whenever you attack with 1 or more non-gnome creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on him, then create X 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on her. You can see why this is in this deck, obviously, because hopefully you get her out a couple times or even get some counters on her in other ways, swing, and do a bunch of damage. But she doesn't have haste, and Arabella is tapped. So, Arabella, rather. We're going to pass. I believe turn 7, we untap. We're going to play Castle Dracula, which is just Voldaren Estate, just barely enough to recast the commander. Thank goodness we had the Temple of the False Gods. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to go ahead and move to combat. You did stuff to us which we don't like. Swing in 2 at you in the air, and then everybody is going to lose 1 because we're going to make another toy token. We have 2 of those now, for chump blocking on the ground at least. Pass turn. Appreciate everybody checking out the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Throw some likes around, all that nonsense. Keep checking out the channel. We're going to untap on Captain America's turn. Upkeep, draw for turn. Yeah, I guess I should have kept some of them draw spells. We're going to tap a white and a blue to play the creature Sten Paranoid Partisan. A 2/2 that says when it enters the battlefield, choose a card type other than creature or land. We're going to choose artifact. Spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less. And you can pay 3 mana, exile him, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Well, the choice is obvious. We're going to move to combat. We're going to swing Captain America at you. We're going to tap down Tiny Bones with a stun counter. Oh, I almost forgot. Yes, you would have taken a damage because you had a tapped creature at that point. Actually, and so would you. That's the whole point of, I guess, tapping them down. Makes sense. So now, Captain hasn't changed. He's still going to be 8 commander damage. And then everyone's going to take a damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And also, everyone's going to take 1 damage for each tapped creature they control, opponents at least. Which, pretty cool. Alright, Cap is, even though Cap only has 2 equipment on him, he's doing quite well. But that's all we got. We're going to pass turn. Untap, upkeep, remove the stun counter, draw for turn, play a swamp. Let's see what we have in the pile. Yes, of course. So we can crush Contraband. We could exile a target artifact and an enchantment. Could get rid of Mjolnir and the Doll's Shop. I guess that's probably not a bad idea. Let's go ahead and tap 4 to play Crush Contraband, which is your card, to destroy Mjolnir and the dolls. The dollhouse, as it were. Leaves us with 3 mana. Let's go ahead and tap 2. Whispers of Emrakul. You, Arabella, are going to discard a card. Target opponent discards a card at random. We're discarding Inspiring Overseer, a flying creature. Now, Tiny Bones could attack with Maha again, which wouldn't be a bad idea, but then they would be completely open to a crackback from Captain America. And now he's a lot weaker, so Captain America swinging into Maha is not going to happen. So, yep, we're just going to leave it up. Pass turn over to Arabella. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Hey, it's a mountain, finally. Well, we're going to tap 3 to play the enchantment Takasha's Welcome. Whenever one or more creatures with mana value 3 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. The ability triggers only once each turn. Now, it's mana value, not power, so I do have to try and remember and pay attention to that. So Arabella is unblockable, so we're going to move to combat. We're going to swing her at Captain America. They would take 1 commander damage. However, when they go to attack, it's going to put a counter on them, and then make a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature that is tapped and attacking. So that's on the beginning of, so declaration of attack. That triggers, then we'll resolve Arabella, which is going to deal 3 damage to each opponent, and we gain 3 life. Now it doesn't say where this 1/1 is going, but we'll send it over at Captain America anyway, because all creatures other than over here are toughness of 1, so it will kill something if he blocks. He will not. They'll just take the 1. Although killing it would be a good idea to get rid of it in terms of Arabella's ability, but I don't think he really wants to. I don't think we want to lose any creatures just yet. And a creature with mana value 3 or less enter the battlefield, because it's a mana value of 0, we get the draw card. Sweet, and it's a land. Excellent, we need that. We will now pass turn to turn 8, possibly turn 9. I always seem to forget at least once. Untap, upkeep, draw. We'll say Deserted Beach comes in untapped because we have more lands. Alright, so we're going to go to combat. Going to tap blue, white, black, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 mana. So 6 mana into X for Elenda and Azor's ability. We're swinging them, obviously, I guess, for true purposes. So we're going to declare Elenda and Azor as an attacker, heading toward, I'd like to send them over there, but they will get destroyed. We've already got them sacrificed once. We will send them at you. When attacker is declared, we then tap the mana into the ability to draw 6 cards. You'll take 6 commander. That's not a thing anymore, so we didn't make any more toys. We will then move to our end step, and since we drew 7 cards total for the turn, we will make 7 1/1 knights with lifelink, and 7 creatures, 7 tokens came in, so each opponent's going to lose 7 life. Now that's pretty solid. We're going to move to discard and discard 2 lands because we don't really need mana right now, and we've got some pretty decent cards in our hand to help us possibly win the game. We'll see. Pass turn. We're in a pretty good spot over there, unless someone's got a board wipe. So we untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Wow, that's not cool. It's a land, and all I have in my hand is a counterspell. Super not cool. Captain needs to get through. He cannot. So no point in attacking. We're going to pass turn. Cap's pretty much out of this one. We're going to untap over here, upkeep, draw. We'll go ahead and tap 2 for a Jet Medallion. Black spells cost 1 less to cast. So then we will tap 1, 2, 3 instead of 4. No, I don't think we want to do that, actually. We need something else on the field. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana to play Chainer Dementia Master. A 3/3 that says all nightmares get +1/+1. Pay 3 black and 3 life. Put target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. It's a nightmare in addition to its other types. And whenever Chainer leaves the battlefield, exile all nightmares. Okay. Clearly, Vampires is the real threat right now. However, they do have a flyer. And their flyer is now a 2/1 thanks to Maha's ability. So, but it would die against Maha no matter what. But I think the clear choice is to send... Well, here's the thing. Even if they took it, they would take 6 damage going down to 13. They're probably going to have enough to kill us on the crackback, and we need as many blockers as possible. So I think we actually probably just stay. I don't think Tiny Bones is going to survive. Well, let's see what. Let's go look through our cards. I keep forgetting to do that. Yeah, there really isn't anything in this pile right now that could have done anything better. So we're going to pass. See what happens. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn, play a plains. Okay, so I think here's the thing. We know what's going to happen, right? They've got 7 lifelinking vampires plus 2 little toys and 2 flyers. They're going to want to swing out to take out 1 to 2 people, possibly even more. They definitely have buffs in their hand. We don't know that, but they're going to be able to probably take out the entire table on their next turn. What we do know as Arabella is they've got a lot of damage on the board, even though it's small, and we have something that can stop that. So we're going to tap 3, or tap 4, to play Silent Arbiter. A 1/5, no more than one creature can attack each combat, and no more than one creature can block each combat. That shuts them off completely. Kind of gives a slight edge to Captain America, because with his ability, if he can get through, he can do damage to everybody. But I don't think he's really the threat, because he can't get through, currently. So we're going to move to combat. We're going to swing Arabella at you. On the trigger. Now, this says no more than one creature can attack each combat, but the token's going to come in tapped and attacking. So I think that bypasses that. This means declaration of attack step. Only one can do it. These are coming in. I'm almost positive that's the way that works. So, in terms of the triggers, we're going to put a counter on an Palkin. We're going to make 2 gnomes that come in tapped and attacking. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter where we send them. So we'll send them at you as well. But then Arabella will trigger 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everyone's going to take 6 damage, and we're going to gain 6 life. And then, as I said, you're going to take 1 damage from Arabella. Now, you're going to block. I say you block with the toys. So that does take out your gnomes as well. We do get to draw a card because creature of power, or mana value 3 or less came in, and that's all we can do. We're going to go ahead and pass turn. So obviously, Vampires is not happy with that. Draw turn. Okay, this might help. Well, let's stop and think. Okay, so first I'm going to tap 2 white mana and 1 other to play the enchantment Glorious Anthem. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Then I'm going to tap 4 mana, 2 of it being black, for the creature Malakir Bloodwitch. A flying 4/4 protection from white, or just from protection from white. But when Malakir Bloodwitch enters the battlefield, each opponent loses life equal to the number of vampires you control, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. 7, 8, 9. Kaboosh. Cap's gone. Kaboosh. Tiny Bones is gone. Shoot, I should have taken stock of what that was. They were at like 2, so 9, 10, 11. We'll say like 15 total, so we gained 15 total life. Now, obviously, if people had bigger health, we would have gained the full 999, but I believe Cap was down to like 4, or I can't remember already. I wasn't paying attention. He may have actually been at 8. It was definitely under the 9, so it was destroyed, so we'll just say we gained 15 life. It's fine. I mean, it could end up mattering, but we'll see. So now we're going to move to combat, and we're going to swing our biggest attacker, which is currently now a 7/7 commander, at you. You are down to 6 life. Now, I could, at my end step, I could pay 4 life to make 1 token, which would deal 1 damage to them, but I feel that's unnecessary. We've got ways to draw cards in our hand for next turn. We can just play those to draw a bunch of cards, because they're going to gain life, of course, when they crack back on us. But I think we're going to be okay. No end steps. We're going to pass. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Still only have 5 mana. Alright, so what we're going to do is tap 3 and discard... Oh wait, I didn't play a land yet, and I have a mountain in my freaking hand. So yeah, let's do that then. We're going to tap 4 to play... We play a land, tap 4 for Solemn Simulacrum. It's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may search for your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped. We'll get planes, because that's what we found first. And then whenever it dies, you can draw a card. So I'm leaving 2 mana up conspicuously. I will then move to combat. I will swing Arabella at you. We'll do that first just to make sure we're catching everything. But in actual proper order, Annam gets a counter. We're going to make 3 1/1s tapped and attacking. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to lose 8 life, and we're going to gain 8 life. Then, oh, I did forget about that, because I did it with the toys. That's why. So now that everything is back to proper toughness, we will block 2 of the gnomes with these guys. They'll die, and then we'll block with 1 vampire knight. So that'll die, and the final gnome will die, but we will gain a life off of it. And, well, no, we didn't sacrifice a token. That's all. We're going to pass turn. We're going to untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Tarnation Vista comes in tapped. We'll declare blue. All right, so first things first, we're going to move to combat, because there's no point in casting these spells before we do damage, because we need to see what we do. We swing at you with 7 in the air. In response, you're going to tap a white and 1 other to repel Calamity. Destroy target creature with power or toughness 4 or greater. Targeting Elenda and Azor. Oh, but it does have Ward 2. Oh, we can't pay that. Shoot. And that actually happens in real games because, you can't see everybody's cards, especially if you're doing a spell table. You're like, oh, I forgot that I had Ward. Oh, well, in that case, I think we're just going to be kind of screwed. Yeah. Yeah, I think they win. I don't think that's even an issue. Yep, because now what we do is we tap out casting draw spells. Oh, we don't even have to really think about it too much either. So we just go 1, 2, 3, 4 to play Distant Melody, choosing vampires. Draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. 6, 7, 8. We're going to draw 8 cards. It really doesn't even matter what we drew. I mean, just to be a jerk, we could tap 1 for the Soul Ring we just played, or just drew. But there's really no point in even bothering. We're going to go to our end step, pay 4 life, make 9 vampires because we drew 9 cards total. 6, 7, 8, yeah. And you're going to take 9 damage because we made 9 tokens. Boom! Synergy, people. Love it. There you go. Vampires wins. That might be the second time for this matchup of 3 games. Just goes to show you how good this deck can be if it gets going. And of course, it wasn't answered. Like, Alenda and Azor did get blown up once, but there would be more. Someone probably would have had a board wipe by now, or something of that nature. And I'm very pleased because I've been doing something new on Twitch, the Unskilled Commander on Twitch. Go check it out, give it a follow, where I'll go through my bulk, make a deck with like 150, 200 cards. I just pick cards that I think would be good for the commander. Then I go onto Twitch and have chat help me cut cards down to 100. That's how I built Alenda and Azor and Arabella. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool having people suggest cards that I didn't already have. They're like, hey, what about this one, this vampire, and this vampire? So I ended up adding them and then cutting other cards until we had 100. I, ordered the cards I didn't have online. It wasn't that many, thankfully, only a handful. I think that was a good matchup. Hope you saw some cool cards that you want to put in your decks. Let me know if you have these commanders and how you built them, and I will see you next time.